25 years ago, in the summer of 1991, I spent some time in Williamsburg, Virginia with my mother. Then, as now, the town of Williamsburg looked very much as it did in 1774, when men like George Washington, Patrick Henry, and Thomas Jefferson walked those same streets. But I wasn't in Williamsburg to learn about them, or at least I didn't think I was. I was there to attend a most unusual and unforgettable event. Felicity's Elegant Tea Party. Felicity Merriman was an imaginary character who grew up in Williamsburg, Virginia during the colonial times. When I first read about her in the American Girls collection, she was just about the same age I was, and that made her adventures all the more interesting. Learning about Felicity and exploring Williamsburg was a bit like stepping into the past to see what life had been like more than 200 years before I was born. I had no idea that the experience would be so much fun, and that I'd remember it all my life. The first thing I remember is finding the special registration area at the Williamsburg Lodge, where all the girls were given a box of party favors. When I opened the box, I saw a round-eared cap, just like the kind Felicity would have worn in 1774. I wore that cap all weekend, pretending that I was Felicity. I bet lots of other girls were doing that too. The box of party favors also included a colonial craft kit with a sampler to stitch, a map of Felicity's Williamsburg, and a copy of Meet Felicity. That night, I read the book from cover to cover. I loved Felicity's spunk and independence, and I loved learning about the world she lived in back in 1774. I fell asleep imagining Felicity sneaking off in the middle of the night to train her beloved horse, Penny. I couldn't wait to meet the woman who wrote the Felicity books, Valerie Tripp. So early the next morning, I went to the auditorium where she was answering questions.
I really like doing the research, getting all the information about Williamsburg in 1774 and 1775. I enjoy that part. That's fun. And I gather up lots of information. I make lots and lots of notes. And then a day comes where I have to really sit down and start writing. Now that day usually doesn't feel like too much fun. That feels like hard work. Probably all of you in school are asked to write reports or even just a paragraph, and maybe you do what I do, which is you sort of put it off because it really doesn't feel like fun. But once I get started, I really enjoy it. So once I get going, it really is fun.
When you were a child, did you think that you would be an author of books like this? And if you did it turn out the way you thought it would?
Two questions. Let me think. When I was your age, I loved to read. I just loved to read, especially historical fiction, books like the Kirsten, Samantha, Molly, and Felicity books. So I used to daydream about how much fun it would be to make up stories like the stories I was reading. And I used to also want to have some kind of job that would allow me to be learning all the time. And
I think every girl there felt pretty grown up that day. For most of us, it was the first time we'd ever seen an author in person.
And the second part of your question is, did it turn out the way I thought it would? I think it actually turned out to be more enjoyable even than I thought it would be.
After the question and answer period, Mom and I visited the Felicity showcase, where the new Felicity doll and her accessories were on display. Later that morning, my mom and I discovered that more than 11,000 people from all across the country had come to Williamsburg to attend Felicity's elegant tea party. Everyone waited eagerly for the doors to open. Just when I thought I couldn't wait another minute, we were escorted to our tables by footmen dressed in colonial costumes. Of course, we were all dressed in our prettiest party outfits, and everyone looked lovely. It was fun to see what everyone was wearing. Lots of girls were dressed to match their friends, or their sisters, or their dolls. Other girls wore outfits that matched their moms. And a few girls even wore costumes from Felicity's time, handmade by their moms. As I looked around the room at the other girls, I had the feeling that they had been waiting for this day with as much anticipation as I had. Even the adults were excited. The moment we'd all been waiting for had finally arrived.
Hello, I'm Pleasant Rowland, the president and founder of Pleasant Company. And it is indeed my pleasure to welcome all of you to Williamsburg, and most especially to Felicity's elegant tea party. All of us in this room know what Pleasant Company, a good book, and a pretty doll can be.
Pleasant Rowland, the creator of the American Girls collection, explained why Williamsburg, the character Felicity, and this event meant so much to her.
For it was 8 years ago in this very place that the idea of the American Girls collection was born. Here is where I dreamed up the idea of a group of 9-year-old heroines who would teach girls of today about history, about the history of our wonderful country, and also about the history of themselves, of the experiences of girlhood that have lasted for hundreds of years, experiences of family and friendship and feeling that have linked mother to daughter for generations. When I think back on my own girlhood, I remember the experience of getting lost in a good book, spending hours flung across my bed, absorbed in a wonderful story. I hope the American Girls books have provided just such an experience for all of you. Years from now, you may not remember the details of these stories, but I assure you, you will remember the experience of loving the American Girls and being absorbed in their life and times. Another experience I remember from my own childhood, of course, is that of playing with my dolls.
Then Pleasant Rowland told us about some of her favorite childhood memories. And she ended with a very special story.
I remember a very grown-up experience I had when I was about 8 or 9 years old. It was, for me, perhaps what coming to Felicity's elegant tea party is for you. My mother took me to hear the Chicago Symphony. It was just the two of us, which made it very special because usually we did everything with my sisters. But that day, just Mom and I went downtown to the city. I was allowed to skip a day of school and got all dressed up in my Sunday school clothes. We went to a fancy restaurant for lunch and then to a concert at Symphony Hall. I can still see that beautiful place in my mind, all blue and white and sparkling with the golden instruments of the orchestra shining. They played Beautiful Dreamer that day, a song I shall never hear without thinking of that experience so long ago. By the time the concert was over, it had grown dark outside. The wintry chill had taken over the streets, and the lights of the city were sparkling all around us. We walked down Michigan Avenue, hand in hand, squeezing our own private code. Mom squeezed my hand 3 times. It meant, I love you. And I squeezed back 4. It meant, I love you too. Perhaps sometime while you're here in Williamsburg, you can try squeezing that private code. And someday, you may do it with your own little girl. Maybe you will even bring her back to Williamsburg years from now and share with her the same happy time that you are having here with your mother or grandmother or aunt. That is how the happy experiences of girlhood are kept alive in our memories and in our lives, generation after generation. It is just those experiences that the American Girls collection celebrates. and that is why I created it. At a time when the world has somehow grown too sour and cynical, I am so gratified to know that you and thousands like you appreciate the American Girls collection and have come from so far across our country to reaffirm its values. Thank you so very much. And now, the moment that we have all been waiting for, a chance to meet Felicity Merriman, the newest American Girl. Though in fact, Felicity is really the oldest American Girl. We have lots to learn about Felicity, her life and times, so let the show begin.
Oh, goodness gracious, you near scared the life out of me. Oh, good day to you. Why, you are friends of Felicity Merriman, aren't you? How fine to meet you. Any friend of young Miss Merriman is a friend to me. Oh, she is such a lovely child. Impatient, 'tis true, and high-spirited, too. Still, 'tis such a treat whenever she comes to call. Oh, I am the milliner here in Williamsburg, of course. And this is my shop. Why, look, I have lovely summer hats from Milan. That's in Italy, you know. Beautiful silks and elegant fans from China. Indeed, finery from all over the world. If you've come looking to find out about the goings-on in Williamsburg, you've certainly come to the right person. I know plenty. Why, just this morning, before the sun had even risen in the sky, a strange apparition greeted me. I could scarcely believe my eyes. I saw young Miss Felicity running through the streets, her hair flying like a flag behind her. It's true, bareheaded she was, and dressed hastily, too, in a most twisted-about fashion. Oh, I suspect I know where she was headed. She was on her way to see that new horse down at Jiggy Nye's tannery. Why, that's practically to the edge of town. Oh, if Mrs. Merriman knew that her daughter was stealing out before the crack of dawn to sneak down there, she'd have a fit. Could those have been lad's breeches she was wearing? Oh.
Phew. Why, it seems that Felicity has made her way back to the Merriman house just in the nick of time. Now, although Felicity has already dressed herself rather imaginatively once today, Mrs. Merriman now will help her to dress as a proper young lady should. Women and even young girls wear stays over their shifts and under their gowns. The stays are made with stiff material, such as whalebone, wood, or even metal sewn inside of the fabric and laced tightly round the waist. The stays help create a pleasing, cone-shaped silhouette from the waist up to the shoulders. In addition, stays encourage good posture and proper deportment, for a young lady must learn to present herself properly in good society, and perfect posture is absolutely essential.
As the fashion show continued, we met lots of different characters who were part of Felicity's world. We also discovered that you can learn a lot about people, like who they are, what they do, and how they live just by observing their clothes. And we learned that clothes weren't the only thing that set the colonists apart.
There's quite a lot of fluster all over Williamsburg these days about the king. Mercy, you say you haven't heard. Well, surely you know 'tis the king in England that rules over the colony of Virginia. Well, some people are saying that the king's laws are unfair. The tax on tea is a perfect example. And many people feel they should not have to pay a tax to the king when they buy tea. Others, who are loyal to the king, support the tax. But I tell you, truly it has set friends to being enemies against each other and has forced families to stand at odds amongst themselves.
After we learned about the people and fashions from Felicity's time, Valerie Tripp introduced the play she wrote especially for Felicity's elegant tea party. She told us that Felicity was a lot like the young nation she was growing up in.
Like the colonies, Felicity was full of potential and energy and a great will to grow and learn. And like the colonies, Felicity was going to have to decide what kind of character she was going to be. Independent and with a will of her own, or obedient. Like the colonies, Felicity wanted to be independent, and like the colonies, she was going to have to learn that independence doesn't come easily. It has to be earned, and with independence comes responsibility for yourself and for your world. In the play, which is based on the book Felicity Learns a Lesson, you'll see Felicity make a tough choice, a choice that could end a friendship, but one that teaches her an important lesson about independence.
Oh, and thank heavens, I saw it before you left for Miss Manderley's. Now put these on.
Mother, Miss Manderley would never have taken notice that my stockings didn't match. Why does it matter?
Everything has to be perfection. You are going to Miss Manderley's to be schooled to be a gentlewoman.
I wish I could spend the afternoon playing out of doors, or riding horseback. Or I wish I could be an apprentice and learn how to work in Father's store.
Lissy, my dear, it is high time you began your education as a gentlewoman. Why, when I was your age, I loved my lessons in music and stitchery and fine handwriting and dancing and conversation and serving tea.
Serving tea? I will have lessons in how to serve tea?
Well, of course. A gentlewoman's manners are judged by the way she serves tea.
Oh, but Mother, you know I am not very good at quiet, sitting down sorts of things.
Then you must improve yourself.
As the play unfolded, Felicity did indeed improve herself. We watched as she met Miss Manderley and started her lessons, found a new friend named Elizabeth, learned how to take tea and make polite conversation, struggled to make a perfect courtesy, and occasionally caused a commotion.
Young ladies, calm yourself. What has happened? Miss Merriman, what has occurred?
Well, it's my tooth, my loose tooth. It fell into my tea when I bit into the hard biscuit. Oh, I'm so sorry.
Really?
I'm sorry, I just...
How uncivilized, how colonial, how Annabelle, that will be enough.
Felicity learned a lot from her lessons, and so did we.
Remember that you are not drinking tea because you are thirsty or eating because you are hungry. The tea is offered to you as a sign of your hostess's generosity and her hospitality. Why, to refuse tea would be to refuse her generosity.
Oh, I would never refuse. You make the tea ceremony look so pretty.
Oh, thank you, my dear. But remember, you may not wish to drink tea all afternoon. When you do not, always remember to give the signal to your hostess in such a manner. Overturn the cup on the saucer so, you see, and then place the spoon across the top. Now, the correct phrase to use is, "Thank you, I shall take no more tea."
Oh dear, I never realized there was so much to learn to be correct. There is just so much to remember.
The characters in Felicity's world showed us that, although many things had changed during the past few centuries, other things were still very much the same.
Oh, Ben, it is I, your beautiful Banana Bell. Banana Bell? Oh, Annabelle, Banana Bell. Oh, do be careful, Lizzie. If Annabelle saw you, she'd be angry. She can be mean. I'm afraid of her. Oh, I'm not afraid of Annabelle Banana Bell. Oh, my darling Ben, you have stolen my heart away. Let us be married, my darling, and we can discuss questions of general interest all the day long. Oh, how I do love you, Annabelle. Say that you'll marry a Banana Bell and I shall die.
What is
wasn't all funny business. We learned about some serious issues, too.
We colonists built this country with our own hard work. Many people feel we should govern it ourselves without the king.
Without the king?
Merriman! Merriman, where are you, Merriman? Merriman! Merriman, what is the meaning of this, sir?
Why, yes, I signed the agreement. More than 400 other merchants from all over the colony signed it also. We have decided to stop selling tea. It is our way of showing King George we feel the tax on tea is wrong.
That, sir, is disloyal. 'Tis wrong for us to stand against His Majesty. 'Tis treason, Merriman. Treason, I say.
Sir, do not instruct me as to my business. I will do what my reason and conscience dictate is right.
And what of those hotheads down in Yorktown, eh? Do you think they were right to throw good tea into the river?
They threw the tea away to send a message to the king. They did what they thought was right.
But they were wrong, sir, to throw that tea. And you, sir, are wrong not to sell tea in your shop. You make a grave mistake, Merriman. You'll have no more of my business. Good day to you, sir.
I've decided to stop selling tea in my store to show the king we colonists will not pay his tax.
If no one pays the tax, it will make the king angry. Oh, won't that start a fight?
Aye, it could.
Do you think there could be a war?
Oh, I hope not. War is the worst way to solve disagreements. War is like a terrible illness. Everyone suffers. Some people die. And those that survive are weakened, and 'tis a long time before they regain full strength.
Father, will we drink tea at home?
No, there will be no tea in our house.
But what shall I do at lessons? We'll drink tea there, and tea time is so very important. What will Miss Manderley think if I refuse tea?
Suddenly, the American colonists became much more than a story out of a history book. They were people like us, with lives to live and challenges to face.
Your father's a traitor.
No, my father is not a traitor. How can you say that? How can you let her say such an awful thing, Elizabeth? You know it isn't true. My father is not a traitor. You are. You are a traitor to me.
The taxes and the tea revolt posed quite a dilemma for Felicity, and that made us think about how it affected everyone.
Throw that sampler away. I hate it. It is full of mistakes.
Oh, no, my impatient one. I see a great deal that's good in this sampler. It would be a terrible waste to throw it all away because of one mistake or two. I think it would be a terrible waste to throw away your friendship with Elizabeth, too, because of one misunderstanding.
She is not my friend. If she were my friend, she wouldn't have let Annabelle say such awful things.
I see. You are afraid that Elizabeth does not care for you anymore. Is that it? Well, I think you were wrong about that. But you will have to go back to your lessons to find out.
I don't want to go to lessons anymore.
They are a privilege. It is not wise to walk away from such an opportunity to learn.
I want to forget everything I learned.
Aye, it is easiest to throw everything away. It is harder to untangle knots and try again. It takes courage.
What if I do go back? What shall I do when we serve tea? I want to be loyal to Father. I don't want to drink tea anymore. But if I'm rude, Miss Manderley won't want me to come back ever again. Elizabeth won't want to be my friend. And Annabelle, she will think that she is right. The colonists are uncivilized. What shall I do?
Now that is a difficult knot to untangle. You must be well-mannered, but follow your heart. You must be polite, but do what you think is right. You take some time to think about it. I trust you will find a way. You have become quite a gracious young lady these past few weeks.
In the end, Felicity learned that you never solve anything by running away. As difficult as it was, she faced her problems head-on, with lots of courage and dignity. And we were all very proud of her.
Thank you, Elizabeth. But I shall take no tea.
Oh, well done. Well done, Felicity. Well done indeed. Oh.
When the play ended, Miss Manderley stepped off the stage and became our teacher, too.
The teacups and saucers are all arranged, and I will have the delight of coming amongst you to see how well you remember to serve tea most properly.
Finally, it was our turn to practice taking and serving tea properly. Everyone had several cups of raspberry tea and plenty of those delicious colonial treats. And Miss Manderly went from table to table, offering encouragement and some gentle reminders.
Take up all that you wish, but be polite in everything that you do, young ladies.
Before we left, Miss Manderly taught us how to make a proper courtesy. It was the perfect ending to a perfect party.
Are we ready? All right. I shall count. 1, 2, 3. Good day. Very well done. Very well done indeed.
Today, as I look back on the summer of 1991, I realize that the lessons I learned in Williamsburg stayed with me for a long time, and the memories are still with me. In fact, when I think of all the experiences I shared with my mom as I was growing up, this is one of my favorites. That's why I'm going to Williamsburg today with my daughter. I want her to meet Felicity, to see the beautiful town she grew up in, and to learn about American history in the same way I did. But most of all, I want her to have the kind of experience with me that I had with my mom nearly 25 years ago. An experience that she'll treasure, and one that will live forever in her memory, just as mine has.